1 week in Poland. News, comments, events, everything you need to know about the country you live in. Hello everybody, it's Saturday, April 13th, it's 1 p.m. and you are tuned into IMI Radio. This is 1 week in Poland, the broadcast which tells you what's happened in the last 7 days in the country and wants to give you some advices for the weekend. My name is Fabio Turco, I'm a journalist. And as usual, in the first part of the broadcast, we'll dig into the general news, while in the second part, we'll focus more about Warsaw. So, if you are ready, let's go, because it was a week rich of news, rich of events. So, the first thing I want to talk to you is something I already announced, and I'm pretty sure you are aware, because the last Sunday, all the country went to vote for the local elections. So this is an internal political news. How was the result? Because this was the first test for the parties after the political elections of the past October. The National Conservative Law and Justice Party, PiS, which is the main opposition party, won the largest share of the vote overall. However, the centrist Civic Coalition, led by the Prime Minister Donald Tusk, emerged as the largest group in 9 of the 16 provincial parliaments. So we can say that in certain terms it was like a draw. In total, PiS won 34.3% of the vote nationwide, ahead of Civic Coalition on 30.6%. They were followed by the center-right third way, Trzecia Droga, on 14.3%, far-right Confederacja on 7.2%, and the left, Lewica, on 6.3%. If we compare the results of the local election with the results of the political election 6 months ago, we can see that we can notice that only Lewica had like a drop in the consensus, over 2% less than October. Voter turnout was 51.9%, down 3 points on the 54.9% seen as the last local elections in 2018. And there is also a big difference with the turnout in the last political elections, when 74% of people went to vote. So it's almost 22% of difference. Civic Coalition was the largest group in the provincial parliaments of Lower Silesia, Kujawa-Pomerania, Lubusz, Opole, Pomerania, Silesia, Warmia, Masuria, Wielkopolska, and West Pomerania. So these are the nine regions, 9 voivodeship where Civic Coalition had the majority, while PiS came top in the provinces of Lublin, Łódź, Małopolska, Mazowia, Subkarpacia, Podlaskie, and Świętokrzyskie. However, ultimate control of those regional assemblies will depend on the formation of alliances to create majorities. Probably, as far you know, the ruling majority is formed by Civic Coalition, Third Way, and Left. But in this specific election, they ran separately, so they were not allied. But it's possible that now they will decide to create an alliance to govern the region. So Civic Coalition, which rules the majority, could try to form with the left and with the third way an alliance, and this is as far much likely that they will reach the goal then peace, creating an alliance with the Confederacja. Both the major Polish parties, Law and Justice and the Civic Coalition, claimed the victory. Law and Justice highlights the fact that these were the 9th election in a row, so since 2014, parliamentary, presidential, local, and European, in which they have won the largest share of the vote. While Civic Coalition notes that it came first in most provincial parliaments, and that along with its allies, it will control even 11 of them. Moreover, Civic Coalition won also in the vast majority of the mayoral election. And then when the second part of the broadcast, when we will speak about Warsaw, we will see what happened here, who won in the city, but probably you already know it. Then we pass to the second news. This is something very, very new because it's something from yesterday. The ruling majority in the parliament has voted for bills aimed at ending the near total abortion ban introduced under the previous conservative Law and Justice government to proceed for further legislative work. 3 bills came to the Sejm, the lower house of the parliament, that sought to overturn the near total abortion ban, which was introduced 4 years ago. Each was submitted by one of the 3 main groups in the ruling coalition that replaced the Peace in Power in December. The centrist Civic Coalition led by Donald Tusk and the left each put forward bills that would allow abortion on demand up to the 12th week of pregnancy. While the center-right Third Way, Trzecia Droga, proposed a return to the pre-2021 status quo. So the position of these bills are quite distant, and it's difficult to find like an agreement. A 4th bill submitted by the left, Lewica, additionally would partially decriminalize helping women obtain abortion, which under current law is a crime carrying a prison sentence. So this is also something important, an important point that Lewica, the left, is trying to overturn. However, all of these 4 bills passed to the next stage of the legislative process, meaning they will now be discussed further in committee. Each of the bills will still require a further vote in the Sejm to move forward. So the path is not easy. There is still a long way ahead to become the bill can become a law. In each of the 4 cases, all the votes favoring further passage of the bills came from the ruling coalition, as I said. However, in the case of Civic Coalition's bill and the 2 from the left, some parliamentarians from the conservative Polish People Party, PSL, which form half of the Third Way, along with Poland 2050, opposed them. Speaking about the committee that will discuss about these bills, it is composed by 27 seats distributed among parliamentary groups based on their size, with 11 for Peace, 9 for Civic Coalition, 2 for PSL, 2 for Poland 2050, 2 for the left, and 1 for Confederation. So, as I said, what is the context here? Probably you already know. Before 2021, Poland's abortion law was already one of the strictest in Europe, allowing terminations in only 3 circumstances: if a pregnancy threatened the mother's life or health, if it resulted from a criminal act such as rape, or if a severe defect was diagnosed in the fetus. In October 2020, the Constitutional Tribunal, a body seen as being under the influence of the former ruling Peace Party, outlawed the third of those circumstances, which had previously made up over 90% of legal abortion. The ruling went into force in January 2021. So this is the context, and this is why the parties of the ruling coalition are trying to overturn the current law. As I said, it won't be easy. There will be discussion. The positions between the parties are distant, and at the end, if one of these bills will reach the final stage, the President of Republic, Andrzej Duda, will have to put his signature, and it's quite unlikely that he will do it. He could probably, in that case, send the bill to the Constitutional Tribunal. So this was the second news. It was an internal political news. Now we change a bit topic. It is something that can be interesting for one of you that are working with Uber. Because from June, drivers working for the ride-sharing firms like Uber or Bolt in Poland will be required by law to have a Polish driver's license. The new regulations, which were approved last year under the previous government, will go into force on June 17. They will amend the law on road transport to not only require such drivers to have a Polish license, but also to only allow foreigners to apply for such a license once they have resided in Poland for 185 days. The aim is to increase the safety of transported people, as well as to prevent the provision of transport services by drivers who don't meet the requirements necessary to perform commercial passenger transport in passenger cars and taxis, the Infrastructure Ministry told broadcaster TVN last month. However, Uber criticized the new measures, saying that the changes could cripple the market by both significantly reducing the availability of rides and significantly increasing their cost. We estimate that we are facing an exodus of 15 to 13% of drivers, said Michał Konowrocki, the firm's managing director of passengers for Central Eastern Europe, to Dziennik Gazeta Prawna. According to a survey conducted by FreeNow, another ride-sharing company, among drivers of foreign origin, as many as 50%, so the half, took the job right after arriving in Poland. More than 30% moved because of war or the political situation in their country of origin. And now we speak about something else, because in these days there is a double sad anniversary in Poland. Anniversary of the Katyns massacre and of the Smolensk tragedy. So those are two important events in the Polish history which are strictly connected. So we start with the first one, with the Katyn massacre. Poland's ambassador to Russia, Krzysztof Krajewski, has paid tribute to thousands of Polish officers and intellectuals who were killed by the Soviets more than 8 decades ago in a series of mass executions known as the Katyn massacre. So Krzysztof Krajewski, the ambassador of Poland in Russia, laid flowers and lit candles at the Polish War Cemetery in the Katyn forest near the city of Smolensk in the western Russia. Public broadcaster Polish radio's IR news agency reported. It is our duty to be here to honor their memory, he said during the tribute on Tuesday ahead of the 84th anniversary of the World War II mass murders. So what is the context here? The context is we have to come back to the Second World War, when almost 22,000 Polish prisoners of war were killed in the spring of 1940 by NKVD the People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs on orders from top Soviet authorities. Following the Soviet invasion of Poland in September 1939, thousands of Polish officers were deported to camps in the Soviet Union. The prisoners of war from camps in Kozelsk, Starobelsk, and Ostashkov, as well as Poles held in prisons run by the Soviet secret police, were among those murdered in April 1940. Moscow for decades denied responsibility for the Katyn massacre, while the topic was taboo when Poland, after the war, remained under Soviet control until 1989. So this is a story that it was discovered that everybody knew, but it was discovered and became loud only after the falling of the communism in Poland. And as I said, to this tragedy, to this massacre, is strictly connected another sad anniversary, because 14 years ago, the flight carrying the president of Poland, the then president of Poland, Lech Kaczynski, the wife, and other 94 people, including top political and military figures, crashed near Smolensk. It was during the visit, the proximity of the visit to celebrate the Katyn and remember the Katyn massacre. All 96 people perished in the crash. A memorial service was held in the Polish capital, in Warsaw, in the morning of the April 10, because April 10, 2010 is the day of the disaster. And after which a group of conservative politicians laid wreaths and lit candles at a statue commemorating President Lech Kaczynski, the wives, and the general for all the 96 victims of the disaster. A traditional roll call of honor was held in front of the presidential palace in Warsaw at 8:41 a.m., the exact time of the crash. President Andrzej Duda, in the morning of the 10 April, paid a tribute to the late presidential couple in the crypt of Wawel Cathedral in the southern city of Kraków, where they are laid to rest. In the meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz led a commemorative event at Warsaw Powązki Military Cemetery in front of a monumental honoring the victims of the disaster 14 years ago. As you probably know, this event it was tragic, of course, and very important also in political terms. It was very disputed during those years. It's still disputed about the responsibility of the crash. Jarosław Kaczynski, the leader of Law and Justice Party, is the twin of Lech Kaczynski, always argumented that the responsibility fall on Russia, and he said that it was a deliberately attack by Russia to Poland. This version, this opinion is disputed. There were two committees which investigated, the parliamentary committees which investigated on the case. The first one, right after the crash, it was led by the then ruling coalition, Civic Platform, and the PSL, and told that the major responsibility was on one mistake of the pilots, while a second investigative committee led by Law and Justice 2 years ago said that it was a deliberate attack. However, the rest of the plane was never given back from Russia to Poland, so it's extremely difficult to say in certain words what's happened. To be sure, what's happened then. And now we go ahead. We speak about a new publication in the book called Confessions of an Executioner, a memoir of the Polish Home Army. This is the title of a book from the UK's Greenhill Books that tells the story of Polish World War II resistance fighter Stefan Dąbski. So we stay on the topic of the Second World War. Speaking about his story, Dąbski joined the Home Army, the anti-German resistance movement in occupied Poland at the age of 16, and soon volunteered to carry out death sentences on both Nazi enemies and colluding Polish compatriots. The publisher described the book as a moral tale filled with self-accusation and guilt, as Dąbski morally struggles and questions notions of heroism, patriotism, and the very act of war itself. According to prominent historian Norman Davies, the book reveals not only what men can do in war, but also what war can do to men. After the war, Dąbski was spirited to the West, eventually settling in the United States, where he remained until his death in 1993. After his death, his memoir came into the possessions of his niece and a nephew before eventually arriving at the Warsaw-based Karta Center, an NGO that aims to document the recent history of Poland and Eastern Europe. Initially published in the original Polish in 2010, the book has had 4 editions since. The English language edition of Dąbski's memoir has a foreword by Roger Muchhaus, an expert in modern German and Polish history. So if you are interested in this story and you want to read in English, now you have the possibility to do it. And now we are approaching to the last news of the first part of 1 week in Poland. Is a news of sport. It's a good news because the Polish tennis player Hubert Hurkacz emerged victorious in the 2024 ATP Estoril Open Tennis Tournament final in Cascais in Portugal. In the final match held on Sunday, the past Sunday, Hurkacz triumphed over world number 77 Spaniard Pedro Martinez, securing a notable victory with scores of 6-3, 6-4. So in 2 sets, Hurkacz won. And thanks to this win, the very good news is that he has moved up 2 spots to climb back to a career high number 8 in the latest ATP ranking. So congratulations to Hubert Hurkacz, and this was the last news of the first part of 1 week in Poland. Now a song, a short break with a song, and then we come back for the second part dedicated to Warsaw. The broadcast is focused about Warsaw, the news from the city, and some advices for the weekend. While I already anticipated in the first part, the most important news from the capital city was the election for the mayor, and the last Sunday, Rafał Trzaskowski, the mayor of Warsaw since 2018, was re-elected. He received 57.4% of the vote, ahead of the second place, Tobiasz Bocheński, with 23.1%. Bocheński was representing the National Conservative Law and Justice Party. While Magdalena Biejat of the left, Lewica, was third on 12.9%, by winning a majority of votes, so over 50%. Trzaskowski avoided having to face a second round runoff vote in 2 weeks against Bocheński. Some pre-election surveys had suggested the battles for Warsaw would need to go to a second round. Actually, it was said that likely the second round would have been between Trzaskowski and Biejat, but at the end, at the end, the second round won't be necessary. A total of 444,000 six Varsovians cast their ballots to support Trzaskowski, while 54,000 voted for Bocheński. This was the data released by the Electoral Commission. The voter turnout in Warsaw was higher than the national average. It was 66.6%. It was announced by the Commission. Mr. Trzaskowski said, this victory is more than a personal achievement. It's a clear message that Poland aspires to be a nation of openness, tolerance, and European values. This statement and also the size of his victory is also likely to add to speculation that he will be the civic coalition candidate for next year presidential election, as he was in 2020. So you probably remember that Mr. Trzaskowski was the presidential candidate for civic coalition 4 years ago. So this was the news from Warsaw, and now we switch to the suggestions for the weekend. I have 3 suggestions for you, 3 advices. The first is a concert. Probably you recognized the song in the break. It was a song by Lady Punk, Stacja Warszawa. Actually, Lady Punk is one of my most favorite band, and the Lady Punk will play a concert today at Club Stodoła in ulica Stefana Batorego 10, starting from 6 p.m. Lady Punk is... I don't know. There are no presentation for that. They are really famous, and really their hits are become iconical in the Polish music. I can quote some of them: Stacja Warszawa, Mniej niż zero, Kryzysowa narzeczona, Tańcz głupia tańcz, Zamki na piasku, Szuka latania. So Marchechowe pole. So this is the first that came to my mind. The last album was released in 2022. It's called MTV Unplugged, and contains a recording of the concert, which took place as part of the cult Unplugged format at Warsaw Relax Cinema. In addition to the pillars of the group, Jan Borysiewicz and Janusz Panasiewicz, the concert featured a permanent rhythm section, namely Kuba Jabłonski and Krzysztof Kieliszkiewicz, session musicians who accompanied the band at concert. Wojtek Olszak at the piano, Marcin Nowakowski at saxophones, and Michał Sidarski as a guitarist. There were also guests like Tomasz Organek, the vocalist Tomasz Organek, and Piotr Cugowski. Lady Punk, as a curiosity, is the first Polish band to have an official internet radio station, RMF Lady Punk, available on rmf.pl. And so I warmly suggest to go to the concert if you love the Polish music, if you love the rock and new wave music. This is something that you really have to attend. The second concert for today is the second advice is the concert of Run Forest. Run Forest is the pseudonym of the Krakow-based singer-songwriter Grzegorz Wardega, with songs full of personal stories captivating in their emotionality and sensitivity. Filled with a unique voice, Run Forest is gaining more and more recognition from audiences and critics, becoming an important element of the Polish music scene. This is the presentation by rhythm.pl. Today, Run Forest will play at Club Chmury in ulica 11 listopada 22, so ulica November 11, number 22, starting at 7 p.m. Run Forest, the music of Run Forest, we can define like a folk and ethnic music inspiration with dressed in synth sounds. So something very interesting and specific that I suggest to listen. The last advice is for tomorrow, for Sunday, April 14, at Torvar, Hala Torvar in ulica Łazienkowska 6A, starting at 8. Will be held the concert of Mrozu for the tour Wszystko było po coś. Everything has been for something. Mrozu is one of the most important songwriters of the last 20 years in Poland. He is a co-author of the hit song Supermoce and one of the leaders of Męskie Granie Orkiestra that 2023. That now he's embarking on an indoor tour. Mroz doesn't intend to sum up his 15 years on stage alone. At each of the concerts, you can expect to see excellent guests with whom the artist has had the opportunity to collide during his career on stage or in the studio. So there will be a concert, but also a big party where Mroz will celebrate his career. And this is also warmly suggested for you. This was the last advice. This was the last news for this episode of 1 Week in Poland. I want to say thank you for spending with us this half an hour, and I say you hello again to 7 days with 1 Week in Poland. Bye bye.